Good evening, everybody. We're sitting with Jerry Saltz, and we're going to have a webinar tonight. And, you know, I think all of us are pretty impressed with the kind of technology we've got going here and how international we can be, and have people participating from, you know, all different kinds of portions and places on the planet. So, Jerry, you know, I mean, one of the questions we were talking about yesterday, I guess, is that who is art for? You know, is like art for the masses, or is art just for the few people who get it, or is it sort of both sometimes? How do you see it?
I think that art is for anybody. It's just not for everybody. That you don't. It's a self-selecting, self-organizing organism that some people are attracted to and can communicate with. And other people, they just think it's for homosexuals and strange people.
Well, that could be right. How about for artists? I mean, is those who are artists, is that self-selecting? You know, I mean, the sense I get, you know, I get the sense that these people don't have a whole lot of choice. You know, that they've been stamped artists somewhere in their genetic makeup.
I always tell students, don't be an artist. Whatever you do not be an artist unless you absolutely, positively have to be an artist. It's almost horrifying. Nobody tells you this, but how much time you're going to spend alone, almost ungodly. Look at these people. You're all alone there, just like me. It's a nightmare. While everybody else is like going out and is out tonight, we're stuck here talking to each other in this weird language, but it's huge amounts of time alone. Art takes you away from yourself, of course, and it brings you to yourself. It's a bridge to something else, and whoops, I just broke the, I just turned on, hey, I have a calculator on my okay. Anyway, yeah, I think you can choose to be an artist. I don't think it's, or you can't. I don't know. I tried to be an artist and I failed. So
and
everybody.
If you had a choice, if you could choose between being a successful critic and a successful artist, you'd probably opt for the successful artist, wouldn't you?
Well,
and the solitude and all of that.
Frankly, yeah. Because you're going to hate this, you artists in the room. I mean, you're just going to hate that I say this, but I think art seems much easier than writing. Have you ever tried to write? How many here have tried to write? Raise your hand. I'm looking down.
They all claim to be failed writers.
Well, Christopher Goodridge, I see you right there. Isn't it, I know you're on mute, but thumbs up or thumbs down, isn't writing a nightmare? What does that mean? Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a nightmare. I started as an artist. Look, who here is an artist? That I can see 4 or 5. You are Catherine, Catherine. Anybody else there?
Everybody is.
Okay, yeah, I see you now. Yeah, now there's other people. Hey, you're all great looking. Hey, love you. What were you asking me? I'd rather be an artist because it just seems easier. I feel like I have to prove myself or like do my work every week, where you guys, you get to kind of make some stripes, and then you have a show, and then for 3 years you get to talk about your stripes. I know, none of this is true. I don't think I had any choice. I think that I'm not an artist because I wasn't an artist. I think that I'm a writer. I made myself a writer. Maybe you made yourself artist. I made myself a writer. I never went to school. I have no degrees. I was a long-distance truck driver, the only Jewish truck driver around. And I just turned myself into a critic because I had to be in the art world, Paul. I didn't know what else to do. I loved art. I loved the art world. This is very embarrassing to admit, but I would do anything I could to be in the art world. And at the time, when I was in my 40s, being a critic seemed like an easy thing to do.
And I don't know. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing being engaged in the art world. It's a wonderful life. It's kind of like one of the last bastions of capitalism. I think it has a whole semblance to what I would consider, you know, like a cowboy mentality and or Harley Davidsons. And I think, I mean, we're drifting over to the economics of the marketplace, but, you know, the guys who run the hedge funds and Stevie Cohn and, you know, I mean, and I think the notion that some collectors feel like they can, you know, corner the art market or at least, you know, command or move prices around. I guess where I'm going with this is that there are several different art worlds, and not too many artists are making over $1 million very often. You know, most of the artists in this group certainly are in the under $100,000 category, and maybe way low, you know, maybe 2 digits less.
Ha! 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 So am I.
Yeah. So I mean, I think these guys want, I mean, you know, we could teach a class on how to make over $1 million a year in the art world, but that's not where we're at. I mean, I think we're talking to people who are making art for because they want to be sustained emotionally and intellectually, as well as, you know, have enough money to keep themselves going. How do you reconcile these different art worlds, you know, the hyperbolic one versus the day-to-day one?
Well, it's almost impossible for any of us anymore to deny the market. It's there. It's probably always been there. Whenever we talk about the market, we start to sound stupid. I get sleepy. Everything you said is true, but we have no theory of the market. In a way, the market is a simple self-replicating organism. It sees that men who make paintings sell paintings, so people buy men who make paintings who sell paintings. And that's fine with me. As you said, about 1% of 1% of 1% of all artists make any money, except that we became obsessed with them sometime in the year 2004. The Death Star appeared over the art world and sort of focused its beam on the art world, and it just sort of opened up and sucked all of our energy out, and all anybody was doing is talking about Jeff, Takashi, Damien, Richard Prince, you know, white guys, which is fine with me. I like a couple of them. But the market is there. Art and money have slept together since, you know, the Renaissance, and before that. It's not a big deal, and we don't even have to talk about the market. It's going to be there anyway. There's a spectacular example I just wrote on at Larry Gagosian, and I would hate to imagine the New York art world without Larry Gagosian, frankly. He has probably more space in New York than exists in all of Amsterdam art world. He's a kind of a circus, a kind of 50-ring circus. And he does museum shows now better than museum shows because he doesn't have to worry about money. And that's fine with me. He can do them better. He can do them faster. But if you look at what's happened to the younger artists that have joined Gagosian, this gallery that I've confessed to loving, those younger artists don't fare as well. They disappear from the discourse. You don't really see their work except in these kind of clusterfuck orgies at Pinot's, you know, thing in Venice, or Dacus's thing. It's 11 people supporting this art world. Again, I wish all of you could be in it. You would all die to be in it. No, you wouldn't. Yes, you would. Whatever. But what's happening is, to the younger artists, they exit the discourse. They make money, which is great, and I wish you could make that kind of money, but nobody really sees their work. Nobody really talks about them unless it's about how they sell art. The worst show I've seen this year is by an Italian artist, a sweet kid named Francesco Bezzoli. Horrible show at Gagosian. Horrible. It was thrilling because not one single person talked about it. It wasn't reviewed. Nobody spoke about it. So it tells you that the art world is changing again, Paul, and everybody else. That in a way we've shifted from a time of sort of monolithic vertical integrations to something smaller actions of disrupting the chain of command, of small contagions. You're a contagion, I'm a contagion, of all these little actions that can have more effect. And sometimes the big dictators of art have very little effect anymore. They seem just sort of gargantuan, rich, enviable that way, but in no other way. So I'm really encouraged by stuff that I've seen going on in the art world lately, and I get so sleepy when people start talking about the market. Because, good, art and money should sleep together all they want.
You see more democracy and more accessibility for more artists?
Yeah. Well, I do know that as an older person, I came to New York when there was just the New York art world, and it was mainly white, if not exclusively white, and totally male. That changed. New York almost collapsed in the 1980s because, of course, it forgot that there was art from everywhere, and luckily we recovered. Now art is coming from everywhere, is being made by everybody. Everybody in this room, if I asked you to name your secret 10 favorite artists who have emerged in the last 20 years, 20 years ago, you would have to work to put a woman on that list. You'd go, Kiki Smith. And then you'd think to yourself, I like Kiki, but I don't really love her. I had to lie. Now, if I asked you your 10 or 15 or 20 favorite artists, you would be naming women without even thinking about it. So I do think that the art world is much more open in a general way. But if you don't live in New York, it can seem still closed because we look at our belly buttons more than any other city in the world, let's face it.
So, I mean, I think what these artists want to know is what pearls of wisdom you have so that they can so that they can add a digit to their yearly sales.
I have nothing to help there.
What are the things that help out? What are the things that you notice in artists? What in your mind makes an artist successful? What are they? Go ahead.
Well, I think that everybody here knows, and we all share it. Jasper Johns said, you avoid everything you can avoid, then you do what you can't avoid doing, and you do what is helpless and unavoidable. Now look, Johns is a young, gay man, orphan in New York, 24 years old. He doesn't know what to paint. He's living with one of the sexiest people in the world, Robert Rauschenberg, who you would sleep with, I would sleep with. As soon as you saw Rauschenberg, you just kind of go, oh, hi, how are you? He was that kind of Dionysian sexuality. One night, Jasper Johns wrote these words. He said, I dreamt I painted the American flag. So he did. He went out the next day and sort of became the Betsy Ross of American painting and made this kind of, you know, the three-part encaustic painting of the flag. I think that obsession is probably one of the keys to any great artist, to any artist. I don't think if you only have obsession, that's not enough. So if you only make a Brooklyn Bridge out of toothpicks, that's obsession, right? But it needs to have more than obsession. It needs to have some sort of insight. But all these artists know that. My advice is work. Just work, work, work. And that's what all these artists already do anyway. What else? you have to find your inner Guston. What is your inner Guston? Philip Guston could never have predicted in a lifetime that he would begin painting these kind of abstract expressionist paintings, but that he would end painting one-eyed, Ku Klux Klan monsters in bed at 3 a.m. smoking cigarettes. But he accepted that. I am interested in artists who create a machine in their art that they can't predict what this machine is going to spin out. But again, I'm sure that all of these artists know that. Can I tell a short story? Here I go. And stop me if you've heard this. How many, some people here, raise your hand if you own a dog. Who here owns a dog? You do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Paul, what is your dog's name?
Kyle.
Kyle?
Yeah.
What is he, a Labrador Retriever or something?
No, he's a mutt.
Well, I'm a cat person, but anyway. Here's what happens. If you call Kyle, what will happen is you go, come here, Kyle, come here, come here. And Kyle kind of runs over to you, puts his head in your lap, and that's a pretty amazing thing. You've had a direct communication with another species, and that's thrilling. Do you own a cat?
I do not.
Anybody here own a cat? You do. I see Gail Stevens. Can she tell you what her cat's name is? No.
I don't know.
You want to write it down and put it in front of the camera?
Hold on, we can let her talk. Wait a minute. I have to push some buttons here to get to Gail.
Are you there, Gail?
Here, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's your cat's name?
Charles.
Charles?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of a cat is he?
He's a mutt.
He's a mutt. Okay.
Short hair.
Here's what happens when all of you call your cats, you artists. You go, come here, Charles, come here. And here's what Charles does. I'm going to get up and try to demonstrate. Tell me if you can see me. Here we go. He kind of goes, hello. And then he goes like this and rubs on the couch like that. And then he sits down like this. What I'm saying to you all is that what the cat has done is put a third object between itself and you. It's communicated through a very mysterious, almost autistic language. And what I would say to all of you here in this room, you're cats. Artists are cats. You all communicate by putting a third thing between yourself and the world. And what's so weird about all of you is that you then want to be loved by everybody everywhere for the rest of time. So, I love you, but that's pretty weird stuff, you guys, if you don't mind me saying. But that's the kind of calling that you've all got. You're all communicating in this strange language. You're trying to dance naked in public. Now, I guess we're all trying to do that, but you're trying to dance naked in public and you're sort of giving up your secrets without giving them up completely. You're the ones that have the urge to do it. Everybody else, no offense, I'm looking at all of you, I love you, but most people dance naked in private. You're trying to dance naked in public, and that's pretty weird. What else can I say? Are you there, Paul?
I am.
Okay.
We've got people who have questions. We got let people question if they want.
Sure, let's try that and see if, I know this is difficult for everybody. This is my first Skype. You want to see my office? Let me just show you my office before we go to questions. I hope I don't break this.
I agreed.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my lamp. That's my chair. Can you see anything?
Yeah, curtains, blinds.
Oh, I just bought that T-shirt. Can you see that T-shirt?
Yep, Fear Eats the Soul.
It says "Fear Eats the Soul." It was made in Rick Tiravanesia's show, which I just saw at the Gavin Brown Gallery. I have that's my panning shot. My wife is through those doors, and if she comes in, she'll just kill me. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. And now I'll put this back. And I spend, like you artists, I spend my entire life in the room you just saw. It's in my apartment through those wooden doors. I'm lucky. That's my apartment.
How much time do you spend looking compared to how much time you spend writing?
Pardon me?
How much time do you spend looking at art compared to how much time you spend writing about it?
Okay, I see about 100 to 125 galleries and museums regularly every month. I see about 25 to 30 shows a week. For example, today I saw about 5 shows. One of the shows I saw, I've now seen 3 times. Certain shows I go back to over and over. I'm a slow looker. When I'm not looking at art, and I'm not complaining, everybody, not complaining. When I'm not looking at art, I'm right here at this desk, just like you, working. I'm a slow writer. I get up at 6 o'clock. I sit down at the computer. I want to kill myself just like you. And then I start writing, and I usually don't stop writing, or I don't move from this spot until after midnight, and then I go to sleep. I'm very lucky that I get to earn my living this way. There are probably 8 art critics in America that get to make a full-time salary. So while a lot of you don't make much money making your work, mind you, there's only about 8 or 9 art critics left, and there's going to be far, far, far fewer in the near future. My generation will be the last ones that have this kind of opportunity. I don't have a contract with New York Magazine. They could fire me tomorrow. I always tell them to fire me and hire somebody younger and much, much cheaper. I'm not paid much money. I have less than $14,000 in the bank. I'm 60 years old. I love my life. I wouldn't change anything except to have more hair. But it doesn't, like you, it doesn't come with a lot of money. So anyway, I don't know what you asked, but I'm trying to express what I call radical vulnerability. A lot of you have read me writing about that, which means, you know, leaving yourself as open as you would like other work to be. I will reveal as much about myself as I ask artists to reveal about themselves. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, I'll take some, or, you know, you can just go home.
They are our home.
Our home.
Connie, what do you want to ask?
Me?
Yeah.
Hi, Connie.
Muted myself. Oh, hi. Okay. I'm a friend with design, and I saw on his Facebook page that you'd written a comment to him that said, glad you're in the art world. And I'm pretty sure it was about the show he just recently had, the voodoo show at Leo Koenig. Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, I don't know if you wrote a review on his work. If you did.
What's his name?
Design. Carlos Roland. Design.
What does he make? Photography or?
No, he makes the big bicycles that are very.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay.
He's a Chicago artist. Well, he's from Chicago. He's not really.
Are you from Chicago?
No, but I live here now.
Where's here? Chicago? I love Chicago. You know, I come there about 10 times a year to teach at the Art Institute.
I went to the Art Institute.
All right, all right. So your question is no, I don't think I wrote on him. I liked the idea of his bicycle, a very lucky thing. I don't want to talk about him because nobody knows about his work.
Yeah, we just went to his studio. We just went to his studio Tuesday.
I don't think I met him, but I did like the piece I saw. It was a bicycle that he drove through something. I liked the interactive aspect of it. Okay.
Anybody else got a question? Joanne?
I have a question.
I don't remember him.
Who said they have a question?
Shelley?
Sure, Shelley.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, Jerry, if you think of yourself as part of the art market, since you have the ability to write favorably and accelerate careers, I would imagine. I don't know if that's within your power. That's what I think some artists imagine is within your power.
Right.
Do careers take off if you redo a show and you think it's a wonderful show and you write about it?
That's a really fair, good question, Shelley. Of course I'm part of the art market. So are we all. Even though we happen not to be on the haves, we're very much the have-nots. But you look at me and you see somebody with power. What I would say to you is that I have power of writing at New York Magazine, but I'm not really writing for power. I think, Shelley, that if I say that somebody's show is good, I don't think it affects sales too much. And if it does, I don't think that it'll affect it too much in the same way I can write that you're terrible and it won't shut your career down. If I say you're terrible and your dealer stopped showing you, your dealer was never that into you anyway. If I say you're good and people start buying your work, then that's a pretty shallow position that they're buying from, although I wish you the best. I would say this, that I'm not writing for power, that I'm writing for credibility. I'm writing so people will at least listen to what I say. And I think that's the only kind of power that I'm interested in. For example, I used to write for the Village Voice, and people said, oh, that gives you power. Then I left the Village Voice. I think that one has to fight for their power. I have to fight for my readers every week, because if I'm bad, boring, or I'm lying for about 10 weeks in a row, I'm going to go, bust. And who are the art critics for the Village Voice right now? Do you know their names? No, because those guys have to earn their names. So I don't walk around thinking I have power. I walk around thinking, I hope I have credibility. Does that answer your question at all?
Hold on, let me unmute Shelley some more. Shelley, go ahead.
De facto, the power is yours. I mean, in the sense that you choose what to look at. Even you select just even from the time you walk out the door and head to a gallery, you are making decisions that can affect careers.
I agree with that.
I know that's not your purpose in writing, but I think that's the burden that you have, if it's a burden, that you have to acknowledge that you own.
I agree with you that it's true that everything I do is part of everything I do, and I try to do it faithfully and with consideration, and I hope, never abuse that power. I really hope I don't do it. I love my life so much. I don't want to mess it up. And I always think I'm this close to being in what I call AA, which is Assholes Anonymous. That I have a terrible tendency, if any of you have ever met me in person, to kind of overdo it. You can see I'm doing it a little bit now, even in front of the camera, and it's a terrible habit, and I hope I don't do it too much in my work. I assure you, when I do it, my wife calls me out on it.
You know, I think you've been really innovative in how you've approached or made art criticism more open. And I think how you've conducted forums on Facebook is groundbreaking, besides, you know, being really informative. And was this with intent or just an extension of who you are?
That's a great question, Paul. As with almost everybody here, it was by accident, completely by accident. What a student signed me up for Facebook and asked me if I wanted to do it about 3 years ago, and I said, sure, go ahead, I don't care. And for the first couple of months, I just would say, I'm eating cashews, or I'm going to the galleries. And one day, I don't remember what, it might have been something about the painter Marlene Dumas. And I wrote out of nowhere a thought that I had about her work, and suddenly hundreds or scores at the time of comments started appearing. And I thought, well, I could be the asshole and just sit here and not respond. Because some people really yelled at me in these comments, because I think I was mean to Marlene Dumas. And I thought, no, I'm always saying everybody should be open and vulnerable. Suddenly, right at my fingertips, is this tool where I can talk to my readers in real time and have criticism in real time. And I started writing back, and it was unbelievable. It just completely transformed me and my work. I felt much more open, much more interested in writing for the reader, not the art world. I thought, anybody that wants to read me now, I want to open myself to. Sorry.
I think that's really fabulous. I think that's really nice. So you think it's also changed how and what you write in physical printed media?
It's changed my thinking, so that's changed how I write. Hearing all these other opinions, listen, being part of the group mind is so thrilling to me, and I think I'm not comparing what Facebook is to Egypt and all of that, but that's what I meant by small contagions, small actions, disrupting the chain of command. This way that if the group mind knew what each other were thinking, amazing things could happen. I think that's why God, when Nimrod built the Tower of Babel, God was completely freaked out and struck it down. He knew that if people could all speak the same language, like on Facebook, that Egypt would fall. And Yahweh was a son of a bitch. No offense to the Jews here. I'm Jewish. He was a mean guy, and he just tore down the tower. Anyway, the Facebook for me has offered an incredible thing. Twitter, less so, because I'm more long-winded. And the TV show, I mean, that was pretty bizarre and bizarro world and wacko, but it also allowed me much more. I thought, I want to take this all the way, and so I want to speak not just to the 11,000 in the art world, I want to speak to the 1.1 million who might watch this show. That I don't want to get off on the TV show unless somebody asks me. I won't talk about it otherwise, if anybody has any questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Joanne, you had a question. Do you? Yeah, Joanne, go ahead.
Sure. I was just wondering if, since you're based in New York, if there's any other city that you would consider living, working out of?
Where are you located, Joanne?
Chicago.
I love you. I love Chicago. Your life is better than mine in one respect. That do you have a 40-hour-a-week job?
Less than that. Well,
See?
my art is my job. I have a part-time job.
That's great. And did I know you at the Art Institute?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to live in New York because you know what that bank robber said, Willie Sutton. They said, why do you rob banks? And he said, that's where the money is. I have to live in a city where there's enough artists so I can make enemies every single week and still have a life here. I couldn't do that in Chicago. There's not enough galleries. So I can only live there. One more thing, Joanne. New York Magazine, and before that, the Village Voice, they don't pay for me to go to even Brooklyn. So when I go review the Venice Biennale or Documenta, I pay for that. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that they don't really want me to go out of New York and review anything. They consider themselves local publications, and so I pay my own way when I go to Venice or Documenta, and I stay in crappy hotel rooms just like you do. But, you know, so I don't get away much from New York. If you're dancing naked in Chicago or any other place, the odds are very low that I will see you in the flesh. Somehow, some way, New York is a trading floor for the art world, and I'm here seeing as many of you as possible.
I think I met you at Oxbow.
Who said that?
Ellie.
I think that you came to Oxbow one summer and you gave a talk. I believe it's. You're so familiar to me. I think this was you now. It was 10 years ago or more.
Yes, I was at Oxbow.
Okay, and you gave maybe you did critiques for the residents perhaps.
Yes.
I remember the buzz. I was there learning to use encaustic in a week-long workshop.
Wow, I wish I could use encaustic.
There were younger students there who were residents, and they were through the roof with excitement that you were coming.
Well, I love hearing that because all of us are so alone that you think, what do they care about, like this old geezer critic, and I come in and then I go back to the apartment alone and I'm thinking, you know, just like you, like I wonder if they like what I just said, and then you get up and you go to the next city. Just like you go back to your studio and you work. I don't think, for everybody listening, I think that art is not an option. I think that art is as important, is no more or no less important than science, than religion, than philosophy, than economics. I don't think that art is just a decorative hedge in front of the citadel of knowledge. I think art is a cosmic force that has been with us since the beginning, that it's a way of knowing, that it's a way of knowing yourself, a way of knowing the world. I think that cave painting has been here since the beginning, and it's never not been here. I'm not sure. I ask you all. I think that you can pick your style, but only to a point. I mean, you decide to be a painter. You decide to paint abstract. You decide to paint landscapes. But do you choose your style completely? I think that in many ways, and this is going to sound hippy-dippy and new age, that your style picks you. That art is using you to replicate itself in a very particular way, and that you simply have to get out of art's way. You have to get out of its way in order that it can reproduce itself in the way it wants to. So if you have a dream to paint the American flag, you should paint it. And any art student that says to me, I have these teachers, they say, oh, what I've done has already been done before. What I would say to you is, then do it again. Do it again. Just keep doing it, and I'll tell you if it's boring and it's already been done before. Just do whatever idea you get. I know nobody asked that, but that's just me rambling. Does anybody else have questions? Or
Sarah's got a question. Let's hear from Sarah. Hold on. Sarah, go ahead.
Okay. I like hearing you talk about like your experience with teaching.
I can't hear Sarah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, barely.
Louder, louder, louder.
Louder, louder. Okay, I'm gonna have to move closer to the microphone. I'm curious about your experience of working with students. I'm just curious to know, like, are you working with undergraduate students or master's students?
Are you in school right now?
No, but I'm considering doing my master's.
Where?
Well, I live in Canada, so I'm looking at a few options in the States and a few options here. A new program opened up in Winnipeg, and there's been a really strong community there, which is attractive.
Yeah.
There's also a program at the university here that has a really amazing internship program with artists where they'll actually set you up to go work with them in the studio for 6 months, which is also pretty unheard of, and that's fully funded as well. And then I've also looked at Cornell as well, and that's attractive because of its size and just the quality of the people who've come out of there. But I'm also curious about schools and larger centers, and that's partially because of what's available there in terms of resources like museums and galleries and a larger community as well. But my question was mostly like, do you find that there's a distinct difference between an artist who's got a master's degree in terms of how well they understand their work compared to one who doesn't?
Right, good questions. Okay, first of all, I work only with master students. I wish I worked with undergraduates, but I'm too high up in the food chain and they don't let me at them. I think that I could have more effect, anybody that wants to hire me, I could have more effect on an undergraduate. I think that graduate students, it's a different thing. I love teaching. I teach at Columbia, the Art Institute of Chicago, and SVA. Why do I do this? Because I need the money, and I love to teach. As I said, I don't have any degrees. I think it's a good idea, Sarah, for you to go to school. Why? Because it's more hothouse time, more time for you to form gangs and connections and learn the language of art and not to have to be out in the world. I think it's very, very helpful. I think it's great to be in a city where you're seeing a lot of other art. However, I know that I think I want you around more artists. What city did you say you're in now?
I live in Kitchener, Ontario. So an hour.
Should I pretend I know where that is?
If you know where the BlackBerry was invented, that's
wow.
It. Yeah.
I have a BlackBerry right there.
Perfect. Yeah.
But you need to be around artists, Sarah. You probably have a handful of artist friends, right?
Well, I have access to a really amazing community here. Like I've got the studio that I'm in has 15 people working in it at any given time. I also work as the artistic director of a biennial organization as well. So
Great.
I'm working with artists on a daily basis. But it is a really small community, and your comment about needing to be in New York because it's easier to be able to have friends because you don't have to make enemies is, you know, very apt for a city on the scale. you have to be friendly with everybody.
Yeah, it's tricky. I want you, vampires need to be around other vampires.
Exactly.
You can't be alone. I think it's great that you've got a community there, but I highly recommend going to a larger community of vampires. I don't care. I think Winnipeg is a great scene, but any city, not Cornell. I want to discourage you from going up to Cornell. It's too much the same size that you're in now. But I do want to encourage you, if you have the time and the money, to go to a program and be around other vampires and test your ideas. And if you build it, they will come. I promise you. You have no idea, in a way, how easy it is. But I'll save that for another question.
All right, that was cool. Gail had a question.
I don't
Gail,
have a question. Hi. I
Hi,
don't
Gail.
have a question.
but you have the floor. Take That's it?
I wanted to say hi.
Hi.
You were my grad advisor at the Art Institute in the late 90s.
I was?
Yeah.
How did I do? I'm not that good in the studio. Was I okay?
Yeah, you were good. You were good. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you.
Good. It's good to see you again, Gail. What do you do now? Where do you live?
Suburbs of Chicago.
Great. That's where I was born and I grew up. Which one?
Downers Grove.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you're making your work still?
Yes, I am.
That's all. That's how I define success. Not in the 30-month career, but in the 30-year career, in a life lived in art and people making work. If you're working, that's a success to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So, God bless you.
Victoria, did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I do. What kind of art compels you to want to write about it? What does the art have to have for you to want to write about it?
The question was, what kind of art do I want to write about?
Yeah, and what compels you, like, you know, as you're going around and looking at art, what kind of things compel you to then want to write about it?
Good question. Where do you live, Victoria?
I live in Chicago.
I love all this Chicago. What?
I went to the Art Institute also.
Did I know you?
I don't know. I was there 72 to 74. I was a master's student.
Wow. Was that your maiden name? What is your real name?
Victoria Fuller.
Oh, okay. Well, this is my real name, too. I think that for a critic, going around the galleries is a bit, it's like fishing or like cruising. I don't really know what I'm looking for. I just know I'm looking to have a reaction, strong, either negative or positive. I think that bad art teaches me as much as good art, and I'm just looking for a reaction in myself. And even if it horrifies me, look, a lot of times somebody got mail. A lot of times I see an artist who I know or who I like, and I don't like their show. It just happened to me. And I had to write to this person. I'm not going to write on their show, but I wrote to the person, and I said, I haven't written to you because I was disappointed, and I was surprised and sad about what I saw. And so I'm having this kind of conversation. I wouldn't do that if I were going to write on this artist. But I don't know what I'm looking for. I never know until it finds me. I never know what I need to know until it tells me, ever. I don't know what I'm going to write till I write it. Do you know what you're going to make until you make it?
I guess sometimes I sort of have an idea.
Is your work right there? Let's see your work. Let's do a studio visit. Where's your work? Is it right in back of you? Everybody, I want to see your work right now.
I don't have it right in back of me, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
I'd have to, you know, either show you my website or, you know, something like that. Yeah.
Send me a link.
Okay.
Okay? Really? and my email is underneath everything I write. You can send me a link, and I'll write back, and I'll just say, you're very bad, and I'm bored, or it looks good. That's all I'll do. So it's up to you. I like your studio. Is that a map in back of you?
It's actually a watercolor I bought a long time ago. It's a cactus, Indian with a cactus coming out of his mouth.
Well, there you go. I wasn't looking for that.
All right, Eric, you had a question. Eric, do you remember your question? You want to ask it?
Yes. Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
My question is, when will you be back in Chicago, and do you do studio visits, or would you even do a review or look at a show that's online on Facebook, like as a Facebook page?
Okay. He asked, when I'm in Chicago, would I do I do studio visits, go to galleries, and would I look at Facebook page? Here's what, Eric, when I come to Chicago, I get up here at about 5 in the morning, and I fly to Chicago. I go to the Art Institute. I go to studios, and at about 4:30, I head back to O'Hare Airport, and I fly home. I don't see anybody, I don't stop, I don't eat, I just work, and then, like you. I would look at your work on Facebook. Are we already Facebook friends?
Oh, not yet.
Okay, well, you may know that I have 5,000 friends, and Facebook doesn't allow me to have any more, but I've adjusted my page where anybody can see my page. So if you want to send me a message, I'll look at your work, I'll look at a few pictures, and I'll just say, this looks boring, or this looks good. You know, anybody as good looking as you, you're going to be fine. Sorry, just kidding. Chicago is great, it's a really good community, but I do need you to make sure you're seeing as many shows as humanly possible once a year outside of Chicago.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cameron, you got a question? That's fine. Hold on. All right, Cameron, take it away.
Hi, Jerry. I was wondering if you could speak more kind of to your idea about if you build it, they will come, kind of like finding an audience in the right audience.
Where do you live, Cameron?
I'm also part of the Chicago contingent.
All right.
I just feel I'm in this situation where I feel like my work is getting stronger, and you know, I'm definitely at the beginning of my career, but I don't know, when I see the work in Chicago, I try to see a lot of work. I don't know that it belongs anywhere here. So I think, should I move? Is that like a good technique? Like, what choices do I have to try to find the people that might like the work I do if they're maybe not here?
As somebody from Chicago, as somebody that was born and raised in Chicago, I love Chicagoans more than any other artists. But I also know that we have a problem that most of the country does not have. And forgive me, any of you not in Chicago, but I'm going to speak to the Chicagoans for a minute. We have a great city. Chicago is just, I love it. And these people here, they can live without 40-hour-a-week jobs. Do you have a 40-hour-a-week job, Cameron?
No. No. I used to be a waitress, and I've been unemployed for a while. So. Well,
more power to you.
Good for the studio work.
So here's what I think. I think that it's hard, though, to get, if you want to dance naked for a bigger audience, Cameron, you may have to move to a bigger audience. They will not come to you. But if you come to them, and it's very hard, and New York is very rough on Chicagoans because we have this great city in Chicago, but it's much cheaper than New York. Do you have a lot of friends in New York or Los Angeles right now?
Yeah, I'm from Vermont, New York for sure, but I don't know that I could handle that.
You don't know if you could what?
I said I need nature. I don't know if I could handle New York City without going crazy.
Okay. Well then, you tell me. How are you going to get?
I've been thinking about it too. Like, if you really feel like your work doesn't belong somewhere, if you can send the work, or if you really have to move, and I think you have to maybe move.
I think you may have to move. I don't mean to give you tough love, but if you are having a feeling that your work cannot be seen in Chicago, one of two things is going on. You're right or you're wrong. Have you gotten your work out in some small group shows with you and your friends, in apartment shows?
Yes.
Okay. And are you generally happy with how your friends respond?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you want something more. I can tell. I have to be honest with you. I just did a Vulcan mind meld with you, and you have a need for more dancing in more public. And I wish that you can do that for you. It almost killed me, but I did it, and I've never regretted it. I know I haven't helped, but you are telling all of us here in this room that you have a need for more. And you're going to have to build it, or you're going to have to come to where it's already been built. Come to New York. It's got more nature than Vermont. Anybody else?
Hey, Cameron, there was a gallery in Chicago telling me yesterday how they're interested in your work and want to see more of it.
Oh, well, that's good.
Okay, Cameron, you get to stay there.
Well, we'll see. Maybe she has a choice.
You're fine. She's lording it over us.
You know,
she's good. You know you're good. Okay,
we have Amber. Amber's in Montana, and she's got a question. So if you thought Chicago was remote, all right, Amber. Wait a minute.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go for it.
I keep cutting out. I have some technical stuff, so I don't know if you can hear me, Jerry. But I live.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? I live at the end of the road near the top of a mountain in Montana, and I've done. And I was accepted into the Chicago Art Institute when I was a pup, and I went out there, and I didn't like the basement of the building where the sculptors were stuck. I wanted light, and I wanted people who wore something other than just black. And I ended up going out to Philadelphia on a scholarship, and I did the city thing. And I love to visit the city. And New York, to me, is best in like a whiskey shot dose. But I don't want to live there. I just want my work to go there. Sometimes. Sometimes, I mean, the work doesn't have to be there always, but I can't be there always. I mean, there's got to be a place for people like me to live the way we do.
Well, I want that for you too, but the problem is all of you are your best representatives of your work, and how is your work supposed to be here unless you can get it here? Or in any city. Any city is fine, but how can you do it from Montana? You tell me.
Well, the work travels. I just don't think I need to live there.
I think I lost Amber. She said the work travels, and then I lost her. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you now. No.
I don't know what to tell you. You want to dance naked in public. You also want to have light and air. It's very hard to have both. I wish that you can. I don't know how you do it. You're looking at somebody that barely gets out of New York ever. But you probably don't get out of Montana much either.
I travel a lot, and I've been making a living making art for 16 years. But I want to do more. I want more people to see me dance naked for sure. But it seems like even places like New York, I mean, they've got to be kind of hungry for some of that.
We're starving to death
somewhere
here.
Else.
We're starving to death. If you build it and put it near us, they will come. But don't just think about New York. In your case, you can be thinking about Los Angeles, Portland, San Francisco, obviously.
Right, right.
And just talk on my Facebook, will you? You big dummies, all of you should be in this big conversation. I know you are, but keep doing it. Are you one of my Facebook friends, Amber?
No, I would love to be, but
get on.
Well, you just go there and start having conversation with people. You'll meet 5,000 other people.
Right.
Jerry's Facebook page is pretty amazing. I mean, I think there's a lot of good content, but there's also a lot of intelligent conversations that people have. You know, the conversations sometimes digress, but I think they always have value. Jerry has a couple of ground rules, one of which I encountered, which was what, don't say anything unnice about anybody except maybe Jerry.
Yes.
And then what was the other one? Keep it short.
Yes.
That's about it.
I have a question.
Right. Go ahead.
You were talking earlier, Jerry, about money, and that you have to pay your own way to get to the Biennale and so on. And I've been thinking recently. I mean, I'm getting my work into small museums and university galleries and so on, and solo shows. And I thought, oh well, things are going to get better, but they don't pay anything either. There's no fees. They can't afford it. You're lucky if they pay just the cost for setting it up or marketing. And I began to feel at times like I'm this huge charity that, we produce it all, able to get it out there, but it's all for free. And
yeah.
I also run a gallery, it's a roving gallery called Livebox, and I feel a little bit guilty at times as well that I'm, part of the system and kind of, taking advantage of artists too, because I can't give them anything. And I'm just wondering, your comments on that and, what you've seen in your career, is this just the way it's always been, or is it more about where we are now in our society where people are just expecting free, whether it's music or anything else?
First of all, Catherine, where are you located now?
Chicago.
I love that you have a gallery. I think it's fantastic. That's telling me a lot of things. First of all, you are a charity. You're not going to make money. None of us are going to make money. The art world, as you are saying, is an all-volunteer army.
Yes.
That's the worst thing about it and the best thing. I know it's bloody miserable, but it's so great that you have this gallery. That tells me that you really are ambitious in the best sense of the word, that you are leaving yourself open. I love people who are dealers. I love them. You people, we all may make fun of the market, but without the market, we don't exist. None of us. None of us. So I love that you're giving other artists a chance. You're going to just keep going the way you are, I'm afraid. And if you are lucky to be in the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that makes a fortune, I think that's thrilling. Is it possible? One of us in this room, one of us are going to live to be 101. Each one of us hopes that we are the one. But somebody will, maybe even two of us. And I hate you because I know it won't be me, because I didn't brush my teeth that much. I don't know what to say other than the tough love of this is the way it's always been, this is the way it will go. There's more chance for women now than in my lifetime. It is not 50-50, but it's better than it's ever been. And it will get a little bit better by the time you really need it to be just a little bit better. Just keep putting your work out there. Just keep doing it, and eventually you'll go broke.
All right. Well, Monica had a question. Maybe we should start thinking about moving towards wrapping up. But Monica, take it away. Go ahead.
Hi. Hi, Jerry. I wrote you a little note, and I promise I will not test your memory anymore. We met at NAME, and I had a different name, and it was a long, long time ago, and it's nice to see you. You're looking wonderful, and I love your integrity.
You too. What's your name? What was your name?
It was Werenberg.
Ah, hello.
Hello. Don't tell me you remember. You don't.
I don't. I was gonna lie, but I won't.
Please don't.
Is that your work?
Well, no. Yes, actually it is. I'm sitting in a gallery right now because I didn't make it home in time to listen to you. I enjoyed it very much.
Good, thank you.
No, I forgot what I was going to ask. I wrote it all down. Obviously, you don't want to be a tastemaker, or do you consider yourself a tastemaker? And I have one small other question.
Okay, first question. Do I consider myself a tastemaker? Do I want to be one? I wish I could be one. I wish everybody would listen to me, but nobody listens to me. So I'm not a tastemaker. I wish I was, but I'm not. There would be more there would be more painting in biennials if I were a tastemaker. I love video. I love performance. I love, relational aesthetics. But curators drive me batty that they seem to hate anything that they have to judge by visual pleasure. You know what I mean? So as a result, you go to all these biennials and they've got everything in it. Like somebody's making a newspaper, somebody's going to the bathroom, somebody's taming an elephant, but you don't even see one crappy painting. And I'm always thinking, what's the problem? Is painting the Jews of the art world? Is there some blood libel? Nobody believes painting is dead except a few academics. Nobody has believed that since the Carter administration. So I'm not a tastemaker, but I wish I was. What was your other question?
Just came back to painting in 2004 after many years of doing other things, so thank you. I'm hopeful. The other question was, how do you determine whether to go to LA or to New York? What are the preferences? And artists would look at obviously their work, but what do you think?
Here's the thing. When you go to LA, you need to know other people because the place is so huge and spread out that you can get alone very accidentally, very easily. In New York, it's more anonymous. You can just come to any gallery and you're going to see 100 other artists. The life is much, much, much easier in Los Angeles. It's more geared for younger artists who went to school there. If you're not younger and you didn't go to school there, unless you have a group of artist friends, then it can be a very isolating place. But if you have some artist friends, everyone should go to Los Angeles. Don't you love it there?
I've been there a long time ago, and I remember the smog coming down from the San Bernardino Valley, and I wasn't totally thrilled. I don't like the architecture.
I love all that. There's no smog, they got rid of all the bad architecture and smog. You're fine. You could go, you could have such a good life. I have a vitamin D deficiency. Don't you know? My doctor said because I sit here at this desk, I haven't gone outside in the last 10 years. So I'm barely a human being anymore. You should go to Los Angeles or come to the East Coast or stay in Chicago. It's the best place.
Well, obviously, I love it here too. But
yeah.
I agree with you, and I want to really reinforce the younger people in the group. There are times when you have to make a choice to go to New York or to go to a big metropolis that really caters to the art. I've missed at least 2 opportunities, and I'm generating a third one.
Good. Listen, it's never too late. I did not write my first review until I was 42 fucking years old. Excuse my French. I was a truck driver. I was a failure. I was desperate. I didn't make a dime until very, very recently. I promise you, it's not too late for anybody. I promise you this. But you have to really be an AA like me.
Let's take another question or two and then wrap this up. Eric, did you have a question? Hold on, let me find you here and unmute you. Eric, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Is there a difference between having a show downtown or Chelsea or Brooklyn?
No. If you build it, your sharks will come, Eric. And it's not fair that you have two questions. I love you madly. But listen, it doesn't matter. Context is everything, and then it's nothing. Just get your work out there, and people like me will see it. You know the old story. The Sex Pistols played to 22 people. 21 of them formed bands. The last person killed themselves. It works that way in the art world. Do you know that Robert Ryman and Cy Twombly existed for the first 30 years of their career on just 7 people buying their work? I wish you only need to convince 1 dealer, 12 collectors, 4 critics, and 2 curators. That's all. You don't need so many goddamn people. 1 dealer, how many collectors did I say? 9. That's all. All right, I see Jacobina Trump.
Jacobina? I was going to ask somebody else. Hold on.
Okay, anybody. She's on my screen.
Okay.
I don't care.
Wait a minute. Gina had a question.
Oh, yeah, she was there an hour ago.
Gina, go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. How important is for an artist to have a very specific and unified style? And does having a few different bodies of work affect the career of the artist's career? What is your opinion on that?
Really good question, Gina. It used to mean a lot. Now I could not be less interested in that. You should make whatever you want to make in as many different areas of your practice. You can make paintings, you can do performance, you can do video, you can show them all in one show. That's what's so great. The idea of styles is completely over. That was a way we understood art history for a very brief period of time, just the last 75 to 100 years. But you don't have to work in just one style. That's a ridiculous thing unless you're just one of these people that paints triangles, and that's what you do. But you don't seem like somebody that does that. Yeah, so please, one more question from you?
Yes, and what would be, I live in New York, what would be your advice? So when an artist is already, a place where the public is, but still, what would be your advice for an artist who is already in New York but sort of outside of the scene?
We all feel slightly outside of the scene, Gina. When I go to an opening, believe it or not, I'm always bashful and nervous, and I want to, run out of there as fast as I can. What I have to tell you is you and your friends put on your high heels or your boots, and you go to as many shows as you humanly can, and go with your friends. You have to be with other vampires. Just keep staying in the trenches, and when you see people like me, for goodness sake, come up and say hello. Don't try to be a wise guy. I'll know within 1 second you're an artist, and we'll talk. It'll be good. I promise you, if you'll show up, things will happen. I know you're shy. I'm shy too. But look, what can I say? You have more hair than me.
All right. I'm going to unmute everybody and see if we got a last question or two, and or we can just wrap this up. We've gone on a while. Did anybody want to say something that hasn't had a chance? All right, I'm going to mute all of you now. I think that's been really good of Jerry, and I really appreciate Jerry's generosity. I appreciate all of his contributions, too, and everything that Jerry does for all of us in the art world. And I think he's breaking new ground, and I think he's helping educate a slew of artists and a lot of collectors along the way. Jerry, thank you very much for contributing with us, and we'll be in touch some more. I think you did great. Jerry, thank you.
Thank you. Watch. Mwah. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Jerry.
Email me. Come to my Facebook page. I need you. Bye.
There you go. All right.
How do I leave?